Hi, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
So we are taking a little break this week because life has
Mhm.
been very busy, as I think we've talked about on the last few episodes. And I am out of town the week before this comes out, and then Courtney just got back from being out of town, so we double recorded for that, and we just could not get our lives together in enough time to get two new
No,
episodes done before I left.
especially
So
not to the quality that we want. Like, we don't want to just
exactly,
bullshit because these are like real people, real
yeah,
lives. Like, it's not just cushy. You know what I mean? Like, we want
exactly.
to do them like justice when we do them.
And we never want to like.
Half-ass research.
Yes, I was gonna say shortchanged. And I was like, that's not the right word. My pregnancy brain is in full force tonight. I was like, shortchange research. And I was like, that's not quite right. Yes, we never want to half-ass our research to do something that is less than the quality that we would normally
hmm
do. So for that reason, we are going to give you guys one of our old Patreon bonus episodes instead. It's not super old. This came out this year, I think, or last
Hold on,
year.
I have it pulled up.
Okay.
It came out a year ago.
Oh, okay, perfect. So yeah, so not anything, super old, but one that you guys have never heard before, but did want to give this little bit of intro to tell you what was happening in case we reference Patreon, as I'm sure we will, because we do at the beginning of every
hmm
episode for Patreon. So, so you're not confused about what's happening, but wanted to give you guys a little bit of new content and still give us time to take a much needed break. So,
Yes. And I am working very, very diligently, very hard on a what will be multi-parter on the murders
yes.
of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman. So I promise I'm also working on those, which is another reason I haven't really had a time to work on
Yeah.
another case because I'm really trying to dive full force with Jacqueline
hmm
going out of town to get these episodes done. And it's taking a long time, but we're working on it.
Yes.
Working on it. So
Again,
um,
quality
ex
over quantity is our goal here.
yes, yeah.
So,
So we have some exciting stuff coming up. We just needed a little refresher, a little break, but wanted to kind of give you guys something. And I think this is a very, very interesting one.
yeah.
A very important one that I don't think is talked about a lot. I hadn't really heard of it until it like popped up in my research of on Patreon. Like we like to do cases that are like created laws or
hmm
different acts, stuff like that. So hopefully you
And
guys enjoy.
typically we choose our Patreon episodes that are like true crime cases because sometimes we do like a little bit unrelated stuff, but like
hmm
these we only do as Patreon because they're so short. So we're not,
Yeah.
thinking that they're less worthy of attention
hmm
or anything like that. It's just because of the length of them. Like we want to give, more full length episodes on this platform. So that's usually why we pick the ones we do for Patreon. But yeah, we hope you guys enjoy and we will be back with another recent episode next week.
Yes. Enjoy your day and let us know what you think of this case.
Bye.
I'm not saying bye.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes Patreon edition.
Yes, we just recorded a regular episode and my computer's at like 25%, which should be fine, but you never know. So Courtney and I were chatting and then I was like, okay, we're gonna go now. And I just, one day I'm just gonna hit it in the middle of our pre-banter and see what happens.
What cracked me up too is you were like, okay, here we go, hit record. And I just like sat here and then you like took a second to start speaking. And then I was like, Jacqueline, you knew, like, you didn't catch me off guard. You got yourself off guard.
Well, I always, after that one time that I fucked up the intro, now I have to think about it. It's not automatic
Oh,
anymore.
you have to
Now I
think
have to
about
sit
the
there and be
intro
like,
every
oh,
time.
what do I
I
say
have to think
now?
about the three words, hi, I'm Jacqueline.
It's really complicated, okay? It's just, I've never said those words ever in my life, you know? I don't know.
Never answered a phone. I've never introduced myself to anyone.
Not a single
Nothing.
time.
Never.
Which, speaking of introducing, since this is Patreon, we can go off, a little bit, but not too long 'cause my computer's gonna die. And we went out this weekend for our mutual friend's birthday party, and another mutual friend is there, and my husband insists on calling him a nickname. Then I'm like, that's not his name. And he's like, oh no, it's fine. And I was like, don't tell him it's fine. It's not fine. Make him use your real name.
The problem is the person too is quite possibly the sweetest human who's ever existed in the entire world, and would never say like, no, I don't like that. I mean, it's literally also kind of like me, where people call me by a nickname I don't like. I won't say it what it is on here, but people call me by a nickname I don't like, and I'm always like, okay. Cool. But also to the point where like it's a lot of like really close friends. It's not Crody, by the way, for anyone who calls me Crody. I was
about to make that joke, knowing our Patreon audience.
Yeah. So I don't know if anyone knows the history behind Crody. Anyway, it's something my sister and her friend called me for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I love that nickname. I truly do. Like that's my Twitter handle, my Instagram handle, all that. But there's another nickname people call, but like some of my really close friends and in-laws still use this nickname with me. And I'm just like, it's too late to say I don't like it.
Yeah.
I've said I don't like it to my in-laws, but they probably just do it to annoy me.
Yeah. It's like once you reach a certain point, it's like, well, there's no going
my
back
nickname now.
Yeah, you're like, that's it. Reminded me, I already told you this story, but I'll say it on here too. But I was emailing with this lady last week, which my name and my email address is Jacqueline. Like that is part of my literal email address. My name is spelled out in my email signature as Jacqueline. And she continues to call me Jackie back and forth for like a week. We've had like 20 email exchanges. And then just randomly, she's like, do you prefer Jackie or Jacqueline? And I was like, Jacqueline, actually, as is all of the things that have my name on them that we are communicating via. Like, what?
Yeah.
Especially in a professional manner that like I can get a nickname like in person, it can just kind of roll off the tongue, but when you're typing out an email, what makes you think this person's name says this? I should call them this other thing that I think they would
will always call you by your full government name, like government first name, until you tell me, hey, I prefer this.
Exactly. Yes. Like I'm going to use the name that you introduce yourself as. Like,
yeah. Well,
okay,
anyway,
let's do this.
We want to go ahead and give a quick trigger warning here up at the top. There is some discussion of sexual assault, so I just want to get that out there just so no one is taken by surprise. So our sources for this Patreon episode are Fallen Peace Corps Volunteers Memorial Project website, the Peace Corps Worldwide website, the Fourth News website, and an Atlanta Journal-Constitute article. Kate Puzey was born in Augsburg, Germany on June 19th, 1984. Her parents were teaching overseas, and when she was 9, her family actually moved to Okinawa, Japan. So the family seems to have at some point also moved to Cumming, Georgia, but I don't really know the timeline on that. Just know they moved around a lot and eventually kind of settled down in Georgia. And in high school, Kate was elected student body president both her junior and senior year. She was outspoken in high school for numerous causes. She graduated top of her class in 2002. Kate then attended the College of William and Mary, majoring in sociology with a minor in business. She studied abroad her junior year at the University of Montpellier in France. So she traveled a lot. A few of the places she traveled to includes England, Indonesia, Italy, Ghana, Greece, Korea, Malaysia, Mexico, Morocco, Hong Kong, Spain, and Thailand. So she traveled a lot.
Yeah. Wow.
She was a gifted writer and talented photographer, which helped her share her travels with friends and family. Kate was described as being bright and loving. She connected with people easily, and she described herself as an optimistic realist. So she just wanted to make the world a better place. She was really optimistic, but she also wasn't like, could still be like quite real about things too. After graduating college, she volunteered for the International Rescue Committee, and in 2007, she joined the Peace Corps. Kate liked to be an advocate for women and underdogs, and as a Peace Corps volunteer, Kate was assigned to teach English in Badujay. Badujay? Teach English in Badujay. So Badujay is in oh my God, I looked up no pronunciations before this.
It's Patreon. We just wing it over here,
We just wing it over here, guys. I'm sorry. This is real life, Courtney. When you just you type it all up and you split the sections and you forget to do an essential part of your job.
Checks it off and off you go. Yep.
Yeah.
Been there many times.
Badu J is in Benin. It's Benin. Okay. In West Africa. So in the 2 years she was there, she formed a tight-knit bond with the community, especially the women and children, and she formed kind of like a girls' club. So she'd organize events like a girls' camp, she would teach reproductive health, and spoke about male oppression. On February 9, 2009, Kate sent the country director of the Peace Corps an email detailing the alleged sexual misconduct by a local teacher named Constant Bio. So Constant worked at Kate's school, and he was regularly hired by the Peace Corps to facilitate volunteer trainings. So in the email, Kate explained that Constant had been raping young girls in the village. She wanted the director to know because she's like, this association with the Peace Corps in this community can like damage this relationship. It's going to tarnish their reputation. No one's going to trust us when we're working with someone who is raping a lot of people in the community. In her email, she said, please believe me, I'm not someone who likes to create problems, but this has been weighing heavily on me. I've loved my time as a volunteer, and it's important to me that the Peace Corps remain a respected organization in the eyes of our host country. This man is not someone I want representing Peace Corps to the Beninese community.
So based on this information, Constant was told by the Peace Corps that he would not be hired in the future. So at this time in the Peace Corps, there was no whistleblower protection. So the information was not kept confidential, and Kate even received a follow-up call from another Peace Corps volunteer about the matter. So like this information is just being shared everywhere. It was known by many employees in the office in Benin. One employee at this office was Arlene Bio, who also went by Jacques. So Jacques Bio was an assistant director for Peace Corps Benin, and to no surprise, due to the last name, was Constance's brother. On March 12, 2009, Kate was found dead on the porch outside of her home. Her throat had been cut, and Beninese authorities arrested Constant Bio, Jacques Bio, and another Nigerian man in Kate's village. Peace Corps headquarters informed Kate's parents, Lois and Harry Puzey, that she had died, but did not give any information on the circumstances. So they were forced to piece together the information based on her emails and some of the other volunteers. And 4 months after Kate's murder, the Peace Corps just stopped communicating with the Puzeys altogether. So the Puzey family created the project Kate's Voice, which was meant to raise awareness about Kate's murder and to force the Peace Corps to make reforms. The family was advocating for whistleblower protections for volunteers, increased quality standards from Peace Corps management, and better support for volunteer victims and their families. A group of Peace Corps volunteers were also forming a group called First Response Action around the same time. So this group was advocating for a stronger Peace Corps response for volunteer victims of physical and sexual violence. The two groups were advocating for a lot of the same policies and joined forces, and there were many former volunteers talking about sexual assaults that occurred to them during their time in the Peace Corps. Members of both groups worked together to form the Kate Puzey Act. The Kate Puzey Act mandates that whistleblowers be extended protections, and the Peace Corps adopt new policies and procedures in the way that they respond to sexual assault victims. In 2011, President Obama signed into action the Kate Puzey Peace Corps Volunteer Act. So it requires the Peace Corps to provide comprehensive sexual assault risk reduction and response training, to develop and implement a comprehensive sexual assault policy, to establish an office of victim advocacy and a sexual assault advisory council, and to take other specified measures to enhance volunteer safety and security and the Peace Corps' response to sexual assault victims. Peace Corps management quickly adopted the Kate Puzey Act. However, even into 2015, some country directors were still victim blaming when it came to sexual assault. In 2017, 8 years after Kate's murder, the men arrested were acquitted in a court in Benin. They had a trial that lasted 2 days, and then they were let go. So the Kate Puzey Memorial Fund was set up, and it supports approved Peace Corps Partnership Program projects, which focuses on the empowerment and education of young girls in Benin, which was a cause close to Kate's heart. And that is the horrific murder of Kate Puzey and the sexual assault of numerous girls by Constant Bio and the Peace Corps' just absolute shit response, and the laws that came forward to change that after her murder.
Which I'm like, 2011 is not that long ago, and the Peace Corps had been around for a really long time. So it's like,
Yeah.
all these like men and women, especially women, are like signing up to go to these countries far away from home where you're just relying on the Peace Corps to help you. And like during this time when they were like talking about this, like so many women were like, I was sexually assaulted by someone in the
Mm-hmm.
village. I was sexually assaulted by someone in the Peace Corps, like employment. I was sexually assaulted. And they're like, well, it's your fault. Like there was one girl's story where she lived in a place where it was like a 10-minute walk to her house because she's in this village that's like in the middle of nowhere, and she was
Mm-hmm.
attacked, and they were like, well, why did you walk? Why did you do that? And she was like, I can't get home otherwise. Like
Right? Like,
basically a
what
lot
else
of
would I
victim
do?
blaming.
Wow.
And it's so scary because so many people go like right out of college to like do this
Yeah.
because they kind of help. I think they help pay back your student loans if you go,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Just like a lot of benefits, but it's like they're not protecting their volunteers when they're sending them into places they're not familiar with, places they might
Mm-hmm.
not be fully welcome, places, not that any community is not, but I mean, I'm sure most people in the Peace Corps are white. So I'm sure if you got white people coming into your community, you're like, back up, please. um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, just a place where like you may not necessarily be welcomed and you are young and not a part of their community. So they're like, why is this
mhm.
person coming into my village to tell me what to do, how to
What to
live, to
do.
help
Yeah.
me? Like, yeah, a lot of
Try to act like they need to
animosity.
save me or help me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the Peace Corps probably does a lot of great things, but they advertise the Peace Corps as like the greatest thing in the entire
Mm-hmm.
world, that you get to live somewhere for 2 years and we cover all of your this and we pay your student loans. Like they just really rope you into it. But it's like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times you're not protected then once you're there. Like
Yeah.
that's tough, like not saying the Peace Corps is bad, but obviously even in 2011 they had no sexual assault policy. They didn't have an office of victim advocacy or any of that, any
Mm-hmm.
protections against whistleblowers. Who this girl's like, I'm trying to help Peace Corps here, and you spread my email around to the whole office, and now they know what I said, and they murder her.
Yeah, and she's
Don't even tell
literally
her family.
murdered for trying to protect other people. Like,
Yeah.
and like I said, like the not even communicating with her family and just that's horrific. And it's such a
Mhm.
like that's not the image I think a lot of people think of when they think of the Peace Corps. Like I feel like
And apparently there's a lot of these stories when I was researching this, and I'm like,
yeah.
do I need to do a deep dive onto like fucked up shit happening in the Peace Corps? But
Maybe
anyway.
we should. Maybe this is a whole mini series. I just feel like a lot of other institutions, the United States military, that like people are very aware of these types of things and this like culture. And I feel like that's not known with the Peace Corps. Or maybe I'm just really dumb when it comes to
No.
the Peace Corps. But I feel like most people don't have this image of the Peace Corps like they do of other organizations where this happens a lot.
And yeah, maybe it's just because like not as many people are in the Peace Corps as are in the military, and
Yeah,
it's just
could
not as
be.
talked about. Or I mean, a lot of the military sexual assault comes from people then getting murdered. That's why they're talking about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Same with this, I guess. Like no one's talking about the sexual assault issues or victim
exactly.
advocacy or protecting people until someone's murdered.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Let us know what you guys think. Have you guys heard
Mhm.
of this? Have you guys heard other Peace Corps stories like this? Do you guys want a whole Peace Corps deep dive either here or on the main feed? Maybe that's something we can look into.
Yeah. So this one kind of went along with my little like the Amber Alert, like the series of like
Mm-hmm.
cases that caused like
Yeah.
different things to come into action. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this fits perfect. And now I'm like, I got a lot of questions about a lot of
Right. You're
things.
like, I'm gonna add that to my brain list of things to
Mhm.
dig further into. Speaking of laws and cases and things, we will be giving you a little bit of a deeper dive on the death penalty next month. So if you guys want to, I mean, you guys are already here. I don't need to sell you on it. Stick around.
Mhm.
But we've covered quite a few cases that have some different like nuances when it comes to when the death penalty can be used and when it can't, and the history of it in different states. And so just gonna kind of jump into that arena and see what we can uncover for you guys. So,
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think. Give us some nice comments on it. You know where to find us. And thanks for sticking around because we couldn't do it without you. But in the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.